section, what we want to do is we want to answer some questions from our YouTube subscribers. If you have questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat section. Maybe we'll feature one of your questions in an upcoming video. But the first question is from Casey. He says, new to this, so when going into a deed auction, putting down a deposit of say $2,000, if I don't buy anything, do you get it back? Absolutely. You're going to get back your deposit usually within 2 weeks. The longest generally be about a month in most cases, and you're going to get that money back. Now, in some cases, they may have a registration fee, a $20 registration fee, $25 registration fee that may not be refundable, but your deposit in every case that we know of, you're going to get back if you don't buy anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see here. The next one. Let's see, when starting foreclosure process, how long does that take? That is a good question, and it's one that varies by state a bit and a few other factors. Generally, though, foreclosure, if you're looking at a time frame to get through it, you could probably look at it between 2 to 3 months on a short end, and probably more like 6 to 8 on a longer end.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Jennifer. Like Shade said, it's going to take 3 to 6 months. In fact, I think we talked a little bit about that earlier when we were talking about tax lien foreclosures during our tax sale tip. But it's also, like we mentioned then, it's probably going to cost anywhere between $2,000 on the low end up to $5,000, depending on the state and how much is involved. We have another question from the Wealthy Scientist that asks, I am subscribed, how do we buy the ebook? Like we mentioned a little earlier, you don't need to buy the ebook. All you need to do is go to Tax Sale Secrets, and you can go ahead and download it for free.
Yeah. Now, another question here, which is a great question. It's by RN Guy, and he says, you speak of foreclosure wiping out all encumbrances and attachments, liens, with the exception of governmental liens and tax liens. Does a foreclosure wipe out all heir claims to the property? So say grandma left it to me and she passed away and the taxes went unpaid. It went into tax foreclosure. A new buyer paid the taxes and received the quitclaim deed, but now I want it back. He says, this webinar is awesome. I want more. It's a great question, though, because it really does. The foreclosure process is a powerful process. It does wipe out any kind of liens and encumbrances, attachments, claims. It's what we call a first position lien. And most liens issued by a government are considered first position liens. And that's why, is so that they have power to take over other claims. Because what would happen is if they didn't have that first position power, then when it came time to try to enforce property taxes, they wouldn't have the ability to actually foreclose on the property, because the other liens would have claim over them. So these first position liens, with the power they have, is basically to take precedence over any other kind of claim. And if foreclosure ends up getting executed, so if it ends up getting completed, then any claims to the property basically get wiped out, even if there was an error. Not an error. Okay, so if your grandma left it to you, if the property taxes were current, and there was some kind of an error made, then it would be the county's job to fix that problem and get the property back to you somehow. Although errors like that don't generally happen, in most cases, if the taxes weren't paid and the property was foreclosed on, it's once after the auction, it's generally lost forever, unless you live like in a redemption deed state.
Yeah, it's just if your grandma left you the property, you would just be like any other property owner. They're going to go ahead and go through the notification process, and if your grandma left you the property, it would be on you to update the county with your county record information. With your address and current information, so they can contact you about the property taxes, and they can contact you, about anything like a foreclosure. So in this type of case, like Shade said, the foreclosure is going to go ahead and wipe that out, and it's very, very rare where somebody may have actually paid the property taxes. There's a couple of instances where this isn't the case, like for example in New Mexico or through a Pennsylvania upset sale, where some types of mortgages or liens judgments can survive. But when we're talking about a tax deed foreclosure in most states, that judicial foreclosure is going to wipe out everything other than other governmental liens, something like a nuisance lien through a city for coming out and cutting the grass.
Yeah.
That's going to be the most common type.
In fact, just thinking about Pennsylvania now, I would have to totally change my answer, because Pennsylvania really is totally different in that they have multiple sales that are happening. So it would actually be possible if you lived in Pennsylvania, to have the property go through an auction, and you could still redeem it. You could still get it back. You still have rights and claims there, to it until it gets past a certain sale where it actually kind of, wipes out or extinguishes those other claims.
Yeah, the claims are still valid, but the property ownership transfers at the upset sale. So when you're buying at the upset sale, you're still going to become owner of the property. You could live in the property, you could rent the property, but if there is a mortgage or if there is some type of judgment on the property, they can still stick to the property until, like Shade said, after it's gone through the judicial sale, where that's where they're going to eliminate any of those liens or judgments. In fact, that kind of ends up with the last question, which is a good question. What happens to properties that don't get sold at the auction? And in most cases, they can make them available over the counter. They may auction or hold a resale. Like for example, in California, in the deal of the week when we were reviewing LA, in California, what happens is they'll go ahead and take those properties that don't sell, and many times they'll have a resale where they'll offer them again for sale, sometimes offering them at a discounted price. If not, there's land banks that sometimes the county will go ahead and issue to, but they'll usually have some method of reoffering those properties for sale that don't get sold at the sale.
Yeah, whether it be over the counter or through subsequent auctions. Yeah, especially now, it's so much easier for counties to be able to offer properties in a variety of ways. So, yeah, there are a lot of opportunities now to get some of those properties after the sale, either through a land bank or through the county in their over-the-counter list.
Well, and counties are using every opportunity to be able to get in, revenue coming in for their county. So, for example, Arizona has tax lien certificates, but what a lot of the counties are now doing is that the tax liens that are over the counter that don't get purchased, they'll go ahead and foreclose on and offer it up at tax deed sale so they can get their revenue coming in. South Carolina will have tax lien sales, but the liens that don't get purchased, they'll go ahead and sell them as tax deeds through their tax forfeited land sales on tax liens that went past the year redemption period, and the county acquired the deed. They're going to sell those deeds. They're going to do whatever they can to keep offering those properties for sale, and that way they can get the revenue coming in and put a new property owner in them.
Yeah, really, it's how the system is designed to work. It requires the investors to be able to come in and be able to fix, or handle, to be able to present investment opportunities, to be able to buy up those liens or those deeds so the county continue to operate.